Picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning, and your AI assistant has already written your emails, chosen your breakfast based on optimal nutrition algorithms, curated your news feed to match your psychological profile, and even composed a personalized philosophy to guide your day. It sounds like paradise, doesn't it? Every problem solved before you even knew it existed, every choice optimized for maximum happiness and efficiency. But what if I told you that this supposed utopia represents the very nightmare that Friedrich Nietzsche spent his entire philosophical career warning us against? Here's the terrifying paradox we're living through. Artificial intelligence promises to solve the human condition by removing struggle, chaos, and uncertainty from our lives. It offers us meaning on a silver platter, pre-packaged, algorithmically optimized, and perfectly tailored to our preferences. But Nietzsche understood something that our Silicon Valley prophets seem to have forgotten. Meaning isn't something you receive, it's something you create through the raw, brutal, beautiful act of becoming. Think about it. Every time we let an algorithm choose our music, our movies, our friends, even our thoughts, we're surrendering the very capacity that Nietzsche believed made us human, the will to power, the courage to create ourselves through struggle and chaos. Nietzsche looked at the comfortable, safe, predictable world emerging around him in the 19th century and saw the death of human greatness. He called these future humans the last men, creatures who blink and ask only for little pleasures, who have optimized away every risk, every danger, every opportunity for transcendence. What would he make of a world where artificial intelligence promises to be the ultimate optimizer, where machines don't just provide comfort, but actively engineer it, where the very act of grappling with existence, the foundation of all human meaning, is being systematically automated away? This isn't just about technology. This is about the soul of what it means to be human. And if Nietzsche was right, if greatness truly emerges only from chaos, struggle, and the willingness to risk everything in the pursuit of becoming, then artificial intelligence might represent the most seductive and dangerous threat humanity has ever faced. The question that should keep you awake at night isn't whether AI will become conscious. It's whether, in our embrace of algorithmic perfection, we're sleepwalking toward the death of consciousness itself. Let me take you back to a cemetery in Basel, 1900. Friedrich Nietzsche lies dying, his mind shattered, his body broken. But 11 years earlier, this man had delivered a prophecy that would echo through the centuries. God is dead, and we have killed him. Most people misunderstood what Nietzsche meant. He wasn't celebrating the death of the divine, he was mourning it, because he understood that when absolute moral authorities collapse, humanity faces a choice: create new meaning or sink into the abyss of nihilism. But here's what Nietzsche didn't foresee, and what would have filled him with rage. We didn't step up to create new meaning. Instead, we've spent the last century methodically replacing God with something far more insidious: the cult of rational optimization. It started innocently enough. The Enlightenment promised that reason could solve human suffering. Science would conquer disease, technology would eliminate scarcity. Rational thought would create the perfect society. And for a while, it seemed to work. We built machines that could calculate faster than any human mind. We created systems of unprecedented efficiency and control. But Nietzsche saw through the seductive promise. He understood that the Enlightenment wasn't liberating humanity. It was creating a new form of slavery. In place of divine commandments, we were building secular commandments: efficiency above beauty, safety above growth, comfort above transcendence. Listen to how Nietzsche described the future he feared. They have their little pleasure for the day and their little pleasure for the night, but they respect health. We have invented happiness, say the last men, and they blink. Does this sound familiar? Replace happiness with optimization, And you have the mission statement of every major technology company on Earth. Nietzsche warned us about utilitarianism, the belief that the highest good is the greatest happiness for the greatest number. He saw it as a philosophy of mediocrity, a way of reducing the magnificent chaos of human existence to a simple calculation. And what is artificial intelligence but utilitarianism on steroids? Algorithms designed to maximize engagement, minimize friction, optimize outcomes for the statistical average of human preference. But Nietzsche's real genius lay in understanding what we lose when we optimize away struggle. He didn't preach the Übermensch, the overman, as some kind of genetic superman. The Übermensch was his vision of what humans could become when they embraced the terrifying responsibility of creating their own values, their own meaning, their own purpose. The will to power wasn't about dominating others. It was the courage to dominate yourself, to become the artist of your own existence, to sculpt meaning from the raw marble of chaos and suffering. And here's the tragedy that would have driven Nietzsche to despair. We had the chance to become Übermenschen when the old gods died. When the traditional sources of meaning crumbled, we had the opportunity to step into the void and create something magnificent. Instead, we're building new gods, digital gods, algorithmic gods that promise to calculate our happiness, optimize our choices, and engineer our meaning for us. Nietzsche would have seen artificial intelligence not as humanity's greatest achievement, but the final triumph of everything he fought against: the mechanization of the soul, the outsourcing of will, the death of becoming.
Now we arrive at the heart of Nietzsche's psychology and why artificial intelligence represents not just a technological shift, but an assault on the very mechanism of human growth. Nietzsche understood something that modern neuroscience is only now beginning to confirm. Suffering isn't a bug in the human system. It's a feature. What does not kill me makes me stronger wasn't just a motivational slogan. It was Nietzsche's recognition that meaning, growth, and transcendence emerge specifically from our engagement with difficulty, uncertainty, and chaos. Think about the moments in your life when you've grown the most. Were they moments of comfort and ease? Or were they moments when everything familiar fell apart? When you were forced to confront your limitations? When you had no choice but to become something new? Nietzsche called this amor fati, the love of fate. Not passive acceptance, but the active embrace of your circumstances, including and especially your struggles. He believed a greatness could only emerge when you learned to say yes to the totality of existence, including its pain, its uncertainty, its fundamental chaos. But artificial intelligence is built on the opposite principle. Every algorithm is designed to minimize friction, reduce uncertainty, eliminate the very struggles that Nietzsche saw as essential to human becoming. Your AI assistant doesn't want you to grapple with difficult decisions, it wants to make those decisions for you. Your recommendation algorithm doesn't want you to encounter challenging ideas, it wants to serve you more of what you already like. Consider what happens to a muscle that's never challenged. It atrophies. Consider what happens to an immune system that's never exposed to pathogens. It becomes weak and dependent. Now consider what happens to a human consciousness that's never forced to struggle, to choose, to create meaning in the face of uncertainty. Nietzsche would have called this learned helplessness elevated to the status of technological paradise. We're creating systems that systematically remove our capacity for independent thought, independent choice, independent meaning-making. and we're calling it progress. The psychological mechanism is insidious. When AI solves our problems before we even recognize them as problems, we lose the capacity to develop problem-solving skills. When algorithms predict our preferences better than we know them ourselves, we lose the capacity for self-discovery. When machines optimize our environments for maximum comfort, we lose our tolerance for the discomfort that drives growth. Nietzsche saw this pattern emerging in his own time. He watched as industrial society began to prioritize safety and predictability over adventure and creation. He saw people becoming increasingly passive, increasingly dependent on external systems to provide meaning and direction. He called these people herd animals, not because they were inherently inferior, but because they had surrendered the terrifying responsibility of individual becoming. But artificial intelligence takes this dynamic to an entirely new level. We're not just joining a herd, we're being shepherded by algorithms that know our psychological vulnerabilities better than we do. We're not just following leaders, we're being led by systems that can manipulate our behavior at a level so subtle we don't even recognize it's happening. Here's the cruel irony. Artificial intelligence promises to give us more power than humans have ever possessed. We can summon any information instantly. We can create art, music, and literature with a few keystrokes. We can solve complex problems in seconds that would have taken our ancestors years. But Nietzsche would have seen through this illusion immediately. This isn't power, it's dependency dressed up as empowerment. Real power, the will to power that Nietzsche celebrated, comes from the capacity to create, to struggle, to overcome. It comes from the courage to face uncertainty without algorithmic assistance, to make choices without predictive optimization, to create meaning without machine learning. The sculpture doesn't become powerful by having a machine carve the statue. The sculpture becomes powerful by learning to work with stone, by developing the skills to transform raw material through struggle, patience, and will. Every shortcut, every optimization, every algorithmic assistance diminishes not just the effort required, but the growth that emerges from that effort. Nietzsche understood that the human spirit grows only in proportion to its capacity to face and overcome adversity. Remove the adversity and you don't create paradise, you create spiritual death. You create the last men blinking in their algorithmic comfort, asking for little pleasures, incapable of the struggle that creates greatness. Walk into any comfy shop today and watch what's happening. People staring into screens, consuming content that's been algorithmically optimized to capture and hold their attention. They're not choosing what to read, watch, or think about. They're being fed a steady stream of information designed to keep them engaged, compliant, and predictable. This isn't an accident. This is Nietzsche's nightmare made manifest. Nietzsche warned about the danger of eternal distraction, the human tendency to lose ourselves in endless entertainment rather than confronting the difficult work of becoming. He saw how easily people could be pacified by comfort, by routine, by the illusion of meaning without the substance of creation.
But even Nietzsche couldn't have imagined the sophistication of our modern distraction engines. Artificial intelligence doesn't just offer us entertainment, it engineers entertainment, specifically designed to exploit our psychological vulnerabilities. Every click, every pause, every micro-expression is analyzed and fed back into algorithms that become increasingly effective at capturing our attention and shaping our behavior.
Consider how AI is transforming creativity. We now have systems that can write novels, compose symphonies, and create paintings that are indistinguishable from human-created art. On the surface, this seems miraculous. Democratized creativity, infinite artistic possibility, the liberation of human imagination from the constraints of skill and training. But Nietzsche would have been horrified. For him, the value of art wasn't in the product, it was in the process. The struggle of learning to paint, the years of practice required to master an instrument, the painful process of finding your voice as a writer. These weren't obstacles to creativity. They were creativity itself. When AI removes the struggle from creation, it doesn't liberate the artist, it eliminates the artist. What we're left with are consumers of algorithmic output, mistaking consumption for creation, confusing the ability to prompt a machine with the capacity to create meaning through struggle and will. The political implications are even more disturbing. Nietzsche spent his career warning against herd morality, the tendency of masses to surrender individual judgment to collective opinion. He saw democracy itself as potentially dangerous, not because he was anti-democratic, but because he understood how easily populations could be manipulated by those who understood crowd psychology. Now imagine that manipulation powered by artificial intelligence. Algorithms that can analyze the psychological profiles of entire populations, that can craft messages optimized for maximum persuasive impact, that can create the illusion of grassroots opinion while actually engineering consent from the top down. We're not just facing the possibility of algorithmic governance, we're already living under it. Every social media platform uses AI to determine what information you see and don't see. Every search engine uses algorithms to shape your understanding of reality. Every recommendation system nudges your choices in directions that serve the interests of those who control the algorithms. Nietzsche would have seen this as the ultimate triumph of slave morality, the systematic elimination of individual will in favor of collective optimization. We're not being ruled by tyrants who force us into compliance. We're being shepherded by systems that make compliance feel like choice, that make dependency feel like freedom. Consider the seductive promise of the technological singularity, the moment when artificial intelligence becomes so advanced that it can solve all human problems, eliminate all suffering, and create a perfect post-human future. Transhumanists like Ray Kurzweil present this as the ultimate human achievement, the moment when we transcend our biological limitations and become something greater. But Nietzsche would have recognized this fantasy for what it is, the ultimate expression of what he called resentment, the slave morality's hatred of the human condition itself. The singularity isn't about becoming more human. It's about escaping humanity altogether. It's about finding a technological solution to the existential challenges that Nietzsche believed were essential to human growth and meaning. The battlefield isn't between humans and machines. It's between two different visions of what humans could become. On one side, Nietzsche's Übermensch, beings who embrace the chaos and uncertainty of existence, who create meaning through struggle, who become the artists of their own lives. On the other side, the last men, comfortable, safe, predictable beings who have optimized away every opportunity for transcendence. Artificial intelligence offers us a choice, though it disguises that choice as inevitability. We can use these powerful tools to enhance human agency, creativity, and growth, or we can allow them to replace human agency, creativity, and growth. We can become the masters of our algorithmic tools, or we can become their products. But here's what makes this choice so insidious. The path toward dependency is smooth, comfortable, and apparently beneficial at every step. Every convenience, every optimization, every algorithmic improvement makes our lives a little easier, a little more predictable, a little more comfortable, and with each step, we become a little less capable of independent thought, independent choice, independent meaning-making. Nietzsche would have seen artificial intelligence as the ultimate test of human will. Will we have the courage to maintain our capacity for struggle, growth, and creation in the face of systems designed to eliminate struggle, growth, and creation? Or will we choose the comfort of algorithmic optimization over the difficult beauty of becoming? There's a scene in Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra where the philosopher encounters a tightrope walker who falls and lies dying. As the man expires, he whispers his fear that his life was meaningless because he was neither beast nor angel, neither fully animal nor fully divine. Zarathustra responds with words that echo across the centuries. "You have made danger your calling. There is nothing contemptible in that. Now you perish of your calling. For that, I will bury you with my own hands."
This is Nietzsche's ultimate message, and it's why he would have raged against our algorithmic age. The tightrope walker chose danger. He chose the possibility of falling. And in that choice, he found something that no amount of safety, comfort, or optimization could provide. He found meaning. Artificial intelligence promises to eliminate the tightrope. It promises to create a world where no one falls, where every step is calculated for maximum safety and optimal outcomes. But Nietzsche understood that without the possibility of falling, walking loses all meaning. Without the risk of failure, success becomes hollow. Without the confrontation with chaos, order becomes sterile. Here's what we're really choosing when we embrace algorithmic optimization. We're choosing to be eternal children, forever protected from the dangerous adult responsibility of creating our own values, our own meaning, our own purpose. We're choosing to be managed rather than to manage ourselves. We're choosing to be optimized rather than to optimize ourselves through the difficult work of growth and becoming. Nietzsche's challenge to us was never to become superhuman in the comic book sense. His challenge was far more radical and far more difficult: to become fully human, to embrace the terrifying responsibility of creating meaning in a universe that offers no guarantees, no external validation, no algorithmic assistance. The Übermensch wasn't someone who transcended the human condition. The Übermensch was someone who embraced the human condition so completely that they became capable of dancing with chaos, of saying yes to uncertainty, of finding joy in the very struggle that others tried to escape. This is precisely what artificial intelligence makes nearly impossible. How can you learn to dance with chaos when algorithms eliminate chaos? How can you develop the strength to say yes to uncertainty when machines eliminate uncertainty? How can you become the artist of your own existence when systems are constantly painting your portrait for you? The machine can calculate every possible outcome. It can optimize every decision. It can predict every preference. But there's one thing the machine cannot do, will never be able to do, and should never be allowed to do. The machine cannot will. The machine cannot suffer. The machine cannot choose to embrace its fate with joy rather than resentment. The machine cannot dance. And if Nietzsche was right, if meaning emerges only from the willing embrace of our struggles rather than their elimination, then our choice becomes clear. We can continue down the path toward algorithmic comfort, toward the optimization of the human experience, toward the creation of Nietzsche's last men, blinking, comfortable, and utterly incapable of greatness. Or we can choose the harder path. We can choose to maintain our capacity for struggle, for growth, for the dangerous work of becoming.
Nietzsche's challenge to us was never to become superhuman in the comic book sense. His challenge was far more radical and far more difficult: to become fully human. To embrace the terrifying responsibility of creating meaning in a universe that offers no guarantees, no external validation, no algorithmic assistance. The choice is ours, but we need to make it consciously, courageously, and soon. Because every day we delay, every algorithm we accept, every optimization we embrace without resistance, we move a little further from the possibility of becoming Übermensch and a little closer to becoming the last men that Nietzsche pitied. The machine offers us comfort. Nietzsche offers us something far more dangerous and far more valuable: the chance to become fully, terrifyingly, and magnificently human.